Bismillah, Alḥamdu-lilāh, salatu wassalam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. For today's example, we move to Surah Yunus, the 10th surah of the Qur'an, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captures an example that deals with nature. And one of the major examples I'm hoping we're taking away from this series is Allah will give us examples that we can not just read about, but also see in the world around us, so that when we see it actually happening, it hits us as what the reminder was that Allah was actually giving to us. And in this one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah 24 of Surah Yunus, إِنَّمَا مَثَلُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, that the example is like the example of worldly life. كَمَاءٍ, like water, أَنزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ, that we send it from the sky, فَأَخْطَلَتَ بِهِ نَبَاثُ, and it's absorbed by plants, نبات الأرض, of the earth, مما يأكلون الناس, from which people eat, والأنعام, and cattle eat, حتى إذا أخذت الأرض, until they start taking it as زخرفها, as adornments of the earth, وزينت, and it beautifies, and people start thinking, وظن أهلها, people start thinking, أنهم قادرون, that they have power عليها, and they think that it's their power, they can do whatever they want with it. أتاها أمرنا ليلا أو نهارا, until by the night or in the day, فجعلناها حصيدا, that it's completely taken away, hasidan, it's completely mowed down, كَأَن لَّمْ تُغْنِ بِالْأَمْسِ, as if it was never there to begin with the day before. كَذَلِكَ نُفَصِّلُ الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, and these are signs for a people who constantly reflect. And this ayah is very typical in terms of Allah talks about this many places in the Qur'an where water is sent from the sky, and Allah takes authority that it was us who sent down water from the sky. But what's being focused on here is actually the people's reaction to it. That they start seeing the water that's being sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's coming at a regular interval. So they start saying what? Well, it's coming, and then we eat the plants and we feed our animals, and there are certain things that we can control, and they start becoming arrogant in thinking, oh, I've understood everything, so now this is mine to command. I can command the food, I can command these animals, and I can do whatever I want. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, sometimes in the night and sometimes in the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will do what? Will mow down what you've been enjoying. Because what? You were never in control to begin with. It was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who was at the end of the day in control. And sometimes we have this happen and we take certain talents for granted, for example, that we were good at something, that we were intelligent, not realizing that actually that was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We start taking for granted some simple things like our health. My health is going to last me forever. But it's kind of like the rain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends. Yes, it was sent for you to enjoy, but you had to understand and appreciate that it was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it was given, and it can be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it gets taken. And it was supposed to be for me to appreciate that when I look at the nature around me, and sometimes I see what? It's lush gardens and there's moments of rain and consistency, and then there's the opposite. In the news, we hear about droughts all the time. We hear about forest fires. We hear about floods. What's happening here? Well, suddenly it changes in a significant fashion. And it was supposed to be a sign that it's not you and I who are in control. It's actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is in control. And we have to be careful not becoming like those who thought what? That they were qadirun, that they have power alayha. No, we actually attribute that, and when we appreciate what Allah has given us, we show gratitude in that moment, saying it was Allah who gave it to us. We don't start taking it as we don't feel entitled to it in some way. That's really what's being emphasized here. When you look at nature around you, you're supposed to be one who looks at it and appreciates the maker, the creator of all of the things around us, not ones who look at nature and try to say, no, now we have ownership of it. Because we don't have ownership of it. We are actually the very same creation as the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala around us. And just as the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should be in full control over the will that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for us to do. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst those that when we see examples around us in nature, that it causes us to be humble and appreciate the creator, and not that we get so distracted by the creation that it comes at the expense of turning away from the creator. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen.